Really? All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome
Afternoon.
to our 25th of April meeting for the steering committee.
25th of April.
What is it?
Can't be.
I changed it a bunch of
Oh,
times.
I'm sorry. It's the 25th.
I-
I'm looking at the top of your eyes. I'm sorry. 14th. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, thank you very much. Work, doesn't it?
Feels like the 25th.
So David, we have a quorum?
It was about,
We have a quorum.
Just say yes. Okay. Becky, posting of the agenda? Posted.
Get a chance.
Any changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay, consent calendar. Have a motion to approve consent calendar?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second,
back at it.
David?
Any opposition? Any abstention?
Thank you. Action items,
Okay, yeah, this one's, okay,
Jackie,
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
appointments to outside agencies?
Oh, okay. So what we have here is we have every 2 years, we open up all the appointments for our outside agencies. Then what happened, there was a March 25th deadline. And there were 3 agencies, well, there were 2 seats that were uncontested. One was CalCog, which is being represented by Brett Huff, who's currently the chair of CalCog, so.
Thank you, Brett.
Or the president.
Hi.
The South Bay Restoration Commission, South Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission, Dean Francois is the delegate. And the new regional council member from District 39 is Mark Warnick, who is replacing Jim Gaisley, and that happened a separate election.
Mhm.
But what we have now is we have 2 policy committee seats on SCAG. Frank Zerunian has been serving as one of those, and he's has said, and I verified this with him, that he will stay on that committee, which is the CHEB committee or C, whatever it's called. But he's gonna find another way of doing it, which frees up one of our seats, which is great.
How does that work?
Drew Boyles did this once. I think that if you go to them and you ask nicely, the president or Comey, the executive director, appoints you. So somehow you get this appointment, and I don't know
Sounds
how.
very
it works.
democratic.
Right, very democratic. So what we have, and I just want to bring this to your attention, 2 openings for three people that have expressed an interest, Bill Uphoff, Asim Sheikh, and Chris Penmantel. I want to just, without saying I have a priority, we right now have nobody serving on the Transportation Committee. And Bill Uphoff did say he wanted to serve on that. Both Asim and Chris want to serve on CHED. We have 3 members on CHED, and it's fine, but we don't have anybody on transportation. So anyway, so that's 3 there. 3 people interested in 2 openings. On the Metro Service Council, we have 7 applicants for 3 positions. The 2 incumbents have reapplied, and there are 3 other applicants. There is a possibility that there will be 1 more opening, and I'm waiting to hear from them. They were going to let me know. So we have essentially 5 people for 3 positions at this point, which may be 4 positions, but we don't know. So after all of, and then the other thing that's happening is we still have nobody offered to be the alternate for the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission. So that seat is open. And then I forgot to open up the South Bay Aerospace Alliance, which is Bill Uphoff is the delegate and Ronnie is the alternate. So we can either advertise that, we can ask them if they want to stay on or reappoint or whatever. So the recommendation today is to recommend to the board, reappoint the uncontested representatives. That would be Britt Huff and Dean Francois. The contested ones, there should be it was recommended that we create a subcommittee to interview the nominees in the next 10 days so that they can make a recommendation to the board. And then the vacant ones, which are the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission and the Aerospace Alliance, if you want to include that, we could solicit for another month or we could do something else. So that's my recommendation for you to discuss how you want to handle this.
Okay, discussion? How we want to do this?
So you're suggesting that a committee interviewed candidates for SCAG?
It would be the three candidates for SCAG and the Metro Service Council. So you want to make. That's what we have. I did not invite them here today because recommendation, I sent them this, excuse me. I sent them all this memo. So I don't know if anybody is here today. Doesn't look like it.
Well, the meeting of the subcommittee,
I think the subcommittee was a suggestion that we meet on August. I'm doing what you're doing.
I know,
April-
April 23rd.
April 23rd at 10 o'clock in the morning. That can either be a Zoom meeting or in person to interview the candidates,
Okay, and who would that consist of?
volunteers. That volunteer for that.
What's in we had the bios and then the people. The steering or the board meeting.
No, we've had a vice committee. We've had a subcommittee interview.
The person.
Recommend the person based upon the interviews.
So,
So volunteers first and then see if they can make it.
yeah. Anybody want to
Okay,
volunteer?
so who would be willing to volunteer to be on the subcommittee so that we can actually interview and then make recommendation to the board for these positions?
Well, I would serve, but I'm going to be in Sacramento on the trip.
Okay, Dane said he would. Anybody else?
And can I do it remotely?
If we could probably do a Zoom one.
The whole thing can be Zoom.
The whole thing could be Zoom. So yes, okay, great. Anybody else? Do I see any hands from the Zoom people?
Bradley? Would you?
So
So-
David, you would?
Are we just discussing the reappointment like of Britt and that, or are we
No,
talking?
no. What we're trying to do is create a subcommittee to interview and make recommendation for SCAG positions and the what's the other one?
Metro Service.
The Metro Services.
Okay,
And we would probably do this remotely. And then again, we would go over their bios. We would maybe have them on to interview them a little bit, give them their spiel.
Bios.
And then we would make recommendation of who we would want on those positions.
Would you be interested, David? For just,
no, I was not raising my hand for that.
Come on, don't be scared.
So we've got two right now.
Have two right now.
we have three, right? Around the year.
Well, myself, so that'd be
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
three enough.
That's good.
I think Ray should be in it, but that's okay.
Right. When's the board?
Odd number.
I could be the odd man out. Okay, so we have three people.
Okay, so what we need is, we need to, first of all, approve or recommend approval, if you're interested, of the people that are uncontested.
So
I make the motion, go ahead with the recommendation.
second,
Second.
okay.
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Thank you.
Okay, and then we need direction on how you want to handle the alternate position and the ones I forgot, which is the South Bay Alliance.
Oh, South Bay Alliance, have we talked to Bill about just taking it again?
No, I haven't. I could do that. I could just.
Yeah,
talk
let's
to-
do that.
Okay,
So that one's
Just
pretty
as
fun.
an aside, I'd be interested in serving on the South Bay Aerospace Alliance.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
okay. So then. we need to-
Will you have to add those two or see?
Let me ask Bill if he's interested.
Okay, we're gonna check with Bill to see if he's interested, and if he is, then we'd have to have another
Understood.
interview. Okay,
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Do we need an alternate for Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission? Or we filled that?
Yeah, and that's the one, the other one is we need an alternate for Santa Monica Bay
Yes.
Restoration.
I'm happy to do that.
and just volunteer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Zane. Okay, so Zane would be the alternate.
To the Santa Monica Bay.
Okay. And, okay, so what we, the action is we've approved, recommended the board approve the uncontested. We've created a subcommittee for the contested ones on April 23rd. Zain Obaji, Rodney Tanaka, and Britt Huff, and the Santa Monica Bay Restoration alternate. We're recommending Zane, and that leaves,
Base or depending.
no, that leaves the aerospace, right? And
So if Bill's not gonna take it, thank you, Dave.
are you interested in being, are you fine?
I
with
can
the
stay the
alternate?
alternate. The alternate's not a big deal.
Could we change the time on the committee? I'm gonna be on a plane instead,
Jackie, whatever time you
What
want.
time?
like in the afternoon at all on the 23rd?
23rd, let me see.
Or do it on the 22nd, is that possible, or is?
Would the 22nd work for you, Rodney?
As long as you do it, that's my council meeting night.
11
but
o'clock?
If you do it like mid-afternoon, I'm okay.
Or even, or
Yeah, what,
30 or 11?
whatever fits
Does 11 o'clock work?
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
Yeah. That work for you?
It should, yes. Zane, is Tuesday, the 22nd, okay, in the afternoon?
Morning. Morning.
I'm sorry, 11 o'clock?
closed, it's closed after.
Does that work for you?
O'clock, yeah, that should be fine.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll do it then.
okay.
Jackie will send out the Zoom numbers.
Okay, so it's the 22nd. Okay. Oh, then I wanted to bring up the other thing that I sent out about the city selection committee. I sent out something about the city selection committee's having a meeting at this office. Oh, when is that? That's on the 21st. And it will be here. And Ray Jackson, Paige Keller, Rudovic, and David Bradley have all expressed an interest in the Coastal Commission nomination.
Nice.
And the nomination is actually a nomination to the Senate Rules Committee. So the city selection committee nominates to the, makes a nomination that goes to the Senate Rules Committee. As I explained to David, I just found out that Holly Mitchell apparently sent a letter supporting Ray and Paige. Correct? This position? Did you know that? That's,
I didn't know a letter was sent.
oh, I thought, well, maybe a letter wasn't sent. Maybe she just is endorsing you. I don't know how that works. Anyway, so I'm just announcing that. I think with all of these people in there, I'm not sure you want to take any position. But I'm just, that meeting is next Monday and every city gets a vote and the mayor gets the vote or has to assign it.
And do they have to be in person?
The meeting is here.
So. Is it,
I thought-
isn't the state of
Don't they have to be in
emergency still, isn't state of emergency still on?
I don't know, because I haven't, seen
No,
it.
They're very strict, so if they're.
You have-
you
I think you
hear it,
have to
probably
be
see
here.
Here in person.
unfortunately, he didn't send me, I don't think he sent me the thing.
They, but because of the state of emergency and I haven't heard that.
I haven't coordinated.
Well, so, what time is that?
Hold on. Let me see if I've got his thing here. I don't remember that he sent it.
But the mayors can also delegate somebody, right?
Right, right.
Like a letter or something, don't they have to come in with a letter?
Okay, here's, no,
Like 11:30 on the 21st.
11:30 here.
11, yeah. Okay. And yeah, and I also, interestingly, there is there's a person on I serve on a county commission, as you all know, and our executive director has just been given the responsibility of actually looking into improvements to the city selection committee. So if you have any ideas or whatever, she would love to talk to anybody that would like to talk to her about the city selection committee.
I don't know how they could make it worse.
What she's advocating at this point, and you know, this could work or maybe not, is they know throughout the year, they know when seats are coming up. And so they could establish meetings throughout the year at the beginning of the year. And then you would all know when the meetings are.
Yeah, that would.
And that would be, that's what she's advocating right now. So if there's anything else, let me know and I can get that information. But, okay, so that's election.
They could plan the meeting around a state emergency. Do it by Zoom.
Okay. him, I can see. Okay.
Anything else?
I don't think I have anything on that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the fiber, South Bay Fiber Network.
Okay. The resolution for the sale of the South Bay Fiber Network is on the agenda for the board meeting and for this meeting. And what the resolution, it was prepared by our legal counsel. I've sent it to both the buyer and the seller, and we have their agreement and understanding. And the seller, no, excuse me, the seller will stay on. He's going to stay on and advise the buyer. That's American Dark Fiber. The buyer is RSG Telecom, and RSG Telecom has met with Jake 11 cities already. Yeah, they're meeting with all the cities. They're taking this very seriously. They want to expand the network, and we think that the sale is, the staff recommendation is that you forward the resolution to the board for approval, because this, I think this will create new life in the South Bay Fiber Network and be able to expand it to businesses and residents of it eventually. So I would recommend your approval, unless, please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions?
What does Bill have to say about it?
What is Bill? Wally?
Sorry, Wally, what does Wally have?
All you gotta say about it.
I can do Bill as well. I mean, yeah, the whole idea in the beginning was to get a more cost-effective fiber, internet access into business communities. And that hasn't happened. So now we're in a position where we've got a new owner who wants to invest, he's got the investment capital lined up and take these benefits into the business community, particularly small business, and eventually, hopefully, into the residents, because we did with CPUC funding, we found out where there were big pockets of and underserved residents. And so the idea is to get someone in here who's going to take this seriously and move the infrastructure into places where it's really needed. And this is, just as the roadways were in the turn of the century, last century, the fiber network is as important today. There's got to be a lot of commerce go over this. And that's something we need to all cities need to work towards. And I have a lot to say about it, but I won't say it now. Thank you though for asking, Zane.
Okay.
Okay, is the $50,000 is good number?
The $50,000 is our estimate of what we have been, this sale has been going on for 2 years now. And we've been having to pay our lawyer. I'm not sure the 50,000 is going to end up covering both of all the 2 years, because we're spending a lot of, the lawyer is now I think $360 an hour, but she's excellent. So we use her very sparingly. But anyway, 50, I picked the number because it's very close to what we probably will have spent. It's also, to be perfectly honest, the seller is going to pay it, not the buyer. The buyer is going to pay it, not the seller. It was really directed at the seller who put us through all of this. So I think it's just, it seems like a fair number in answer to your question.
Thank you.
And it was something that they did not expect. I just said, you put us through all of this, we want some money for it.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Need a motion? I move motion to recommend to the board.
Okay.
David?
Yeah, any opposition? Any abstentions?
You?
Thank you.
And I don't think we have any other place. Wally, I don't know if there's anything we wanted to say at this point
Well,
about the grants that we're applying for this
yeah, it's
grants.
Wow, Wally.
we've got $1.6 million outstanding from the NTIA for digital equity, but the administration has crushed anything with the word equity in it. So those funds have been, they say paused, they're frozen. And we have no idea whether it's coming or not, but it would have made a great deal of difference to the community, some areas, and as well as the business community. So we're still hoping the capacity grant, the state's capacity grant is also NTIA funded through the state. And we still are not sure, because it's a digital equity grant as well, whether that money will be clawed back or not. And so basically the notice for application is on the street and it's due at the end of May. And an outfit called LA Deal, which is a creation of the LADC, it's been designated by themselves, self-designated, let's say, as the submittal of this. And there's the state has issued the requirement that it's one application per county, which means they're punting. They don't want to decide. They want county to decide. And in this case, it would be the county of Los Angeles as it was in the NTIA. It is about LA Deal. So I'm negotiating with them to try to get straight what their guidelines are. And there's probably going to be oversubscribed. We're only getting $80 million. And so the question is, shall we in for 100,000 or are we in for $1 million? We need $1 million. I'm negotiating with them. So I don't know. It's kind of a mess.
Some more on that as it develops.
Okay.
Next is Homeless Services, and Ronson is out of town, but he's ably represented by Addie and Miranda.
Yay.
And I don't, there's the client recording. Do you have a presentation? Yeah.
Should I stand? Can I do it from here?
We can sit.
Well, it's fine. I can see from here.
Speak up.
Okay, so, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So for the presentation, we'll have county and ECRA updates, La Casa updates, overview of the LSF allocations and contracting. And then just a brief overview for Measure A goals. Most of you all here are familiar with them, but just to jog your memory a bit, because it's been quite a whirlwind with it all. And then city funding requests and the proposed or recommended, Measure A funding allocations will be at the end. So to begin, for those of you that haven't heard, on March 25th, the Board of Supervisors decided that they were going to streamline or downsize LASA and instead create a new county entity that will be the central hub for homelessness. So as of now, well, this will start July 1 of this year, and it'll go in different phases, but for the purposes, we'll get into that later. For the purpose of this, a new director will be appointed and will report directly to the Board of Supervisors, a new task force to be led by SBCCOG lead agencies to advise the appointed director. And then cities and COGs will still submit and collaborate and provide their input via the ECRA board that we're represented on by Mayor Pro Tem Paige Kaladarovich. And then they did recently, in the past 2 weeks, establish a subcommittee for standards of care that will be more responsible for data collection, making sure that the interventions that Measure A's funding are in alignment with the Measure A requirements. And I believe that Cynthia Rahman, council member from LA City, was appointed or voted to be the chair, and then Selena Alvarez, vice chair. And this was just last Friday. And so what is left of LASA will continue its continued care duties, including the homeless national information system, and then federally mandated homeless count. And then at this point in time, LA City hasn't communicated to anyone who will be taking over LASA's responsibilities, especially since they played such a big role in their homeless response efforts in the city. So they haven't communicated anything. LASA hasn't communicated anything. And then, as I'm sure all of you saw, Dr. Adams Kellum will be resigning. So the CEO of LASA will be stepping down. They should stay on board for the first 3 months, and then a little bit thereafter, if needed during this transition. But as of now, no one knows what LA City will be doing with their homeless response. And then Judge Carter is considering a possible receivership in May. Though he has communicated to us, he's not particularly inclined to do it. However, the plaintiffs are pushing for it. And then if you go.
We're the plaintiffs. We're the plaintiffs.
The people from the juvenile center, like the people that felt there's an ongoing lawsuit for homeless services. So the people that feel that they were, what happened? I forgot what they're doing. It was, I think it was the juvenile center, but that might be something else, might be two separate, but I'm gonna look it up. But in the meantime, this merger will be done in 3 phases. Phase 1 will begin July 1. However, realistically, they're already kind of working on it now. It's a a project of large scale, large magnitude. And right now, I think the most pressing item is folks trying to figure out how they're going to bring over 700 employees from LAFA to a new county agency, right? There might be some redundancy because the county has their own people for certain things like veteran affairs or housing or whatever have you. So they're in the process of figuring out how to bring those employees over, and then if they're able to come over, yes,
This is 700 existing,
existing lost employees,
700,
700,
all city employees
all LAFA employees. So
being
they are.
contract, not who's responsible for PERS and everything else. Those 700, so yeah, who are those 700 people?
So the 700 people, so LAFA, right, is funded through the county, it gets like 30% from the county, the rest from LA City.
Right,
But then they're like
so the
home-
government employees?
They're not they're like
joint
they're
powers
like joint
authority.
powers, similar to us, I guess.
Quasi government.
Okay,
They're like partially, but not actually. So when they transfer over, right, there's the seniority, there's vacation, there's redundancy.
so has anyone said, hey, do we need 700 employees to run this?
That's what they're in the process. And
Or-
so they've
Why
got
they're
their
in trouble already?
meeting with the county.
7?
Are they unionized too?
Yes, they are.
Holy cow. Okay.
So
Union busting is.
they're having those conversations.
Dios mío.
And then the plaintiffs for
But you're not gonna-
LA Alliance for Human Rights.
They're gonna be assigned.
But yeah, so they're in the process to do this right now. Right now, there's like in an exploratory phase where they're trying to figure out, again, if they're able to bring them all over, in what capacity, at what seniority, because that will play a really big part in admin and overhead and, you know, at the end of the day, money. So they're trying to figure out how feasible it is to bring those employees over and if it's even possible. But obviously, there are many opinions on that because they're, you know, what fault do they have? Yes.
So I haven't followed all of it, but why are they leaving any remnant of LAFA behind?
Question.
Great question.
There's like not a correct answer.
I think that
It-
only
a
some.
non-political
there's
answer.
federally
Yeah.
Mandated homeless count and some of the like HUD mandated requirements, that is what the remaining LAFA should be doing. Is the homeless count, they're not gonna be doing the housing, housing for health, all those things. They're just doing that federally mandated.
Yes, but if you're asking why they will be going over to the county entity, okay.
Just why not burn it all down?
Oh,
Start
well, exactly. So they'll have to bring them over to the county. I think there are rules and laws and stipulations as to why you can't just burn it all down. That's 700 people and their employment. So you have to be, I think, intentional with how you lay folks off or burn it all down. So it's not as easy as like, this is not working and then 700 people are unemployed. Like that's not, especially not homeless, for instance. But they're trying to figure out a way to bring them over. And so then that's phase one. Yes.
Does that mean that like One and our people that we deal with are moving over and we don't know if they're gonna still be the same position?
They don't know that yet.
Hmm.
But so then a second part of it on that second, the concurrent phases 2 and 3 is they will be doing a full assessment of their current homeless program. So CEOHI, which is the team we work with, the homeless initiative, and figuring out how to merge homeless initiative, LASA, and then housing for health, DHS, all together into one. So clearly there will be some redundancies. So there will be restructuring across the board for all agencies so that it's not as affected.
Did you say you have a department head already?
They do not. They do not. They haven't figured it out. No one knows. I think there's probably potentially, right there, they probably have someone in mind, but it would be news to us. No one publicly confirmed yet. And so this is all supposed to take place from July 1 till June 30th of 2026. So definitely a large undertaking to be done, and then we'll have to figure out how their union talks go and how many of those employees are coming over. And then if they'll need to take another civil service exam, if they'll need to reapply, like I think there's so many things. So many logistics, so that'll be super fun for them to figure out.
Boy.
Yeah, something else to look forward to. And then La Casa.
Yeah,
This is all before they get to the home.
okay.
Yes,
So
right.
in terms of La Casa updates, sorry, this is a little bit small, but that's okay. So at the March 12th meeting last month, La Casa approved metrics for Measure A goals. So in the Measure A language, they had 5 overarching goals. They were like the first 3 are gonna be the county's focus, and then the second 4 and 5, those are gonna be La Casa's focus. So La Casa's goals are prevent people from falling into homelessness and increase the number of affordable housing units in LA County. And then these sub bullets, that's what they were discussing last month at La Casa. There were a bit more presented than this. This is what the county is putting up on their website, so I don't want to cause any confusion. So I've listed those here. But they are also considering their own goals in terms of production, preservation, and prevention of homelessness. So they're creating metrics both for the goals, but also internally for their organizational goals as well. They approved kind of these bare bones metrics that it's proposed to them. There were issues with some of the data availability. It's not great data on how to guide making these metrics and objectives of what is our actual baseline and what are our goals in the next like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So they did ultimately approve it with the side note that as data becomes more readily available, they might amend those metrics, which will be great if we have better data. In progress right now, so La Casa hired the HR&A advisors group to create the strategic plan for La Casa, like what are they actually going to be at programs level. And they are currently meeting with different COGs and cities. We've had a few meetings with them in the past to try and figure out how do we utilize prevention funds, because there's also a lot of very challenging language in the state legislation that set up La Casa that we're trying to figure out. So we're working really closely with them and trying to connect other COGs with them so that we're involved in this conversation as they build a strategic plan to make sure that it's actually something feasible for us to implement once they make those decisions. But if you're interested in getting in touch with them and having a conversation, definitely let us know. They really want to hear a lot of feedback from cities.
They identified what affordable means.
So affordable will be in the state legislation, they really want affordability to people who have very established as very low income or low income. I'm not exactly sure what the after that, that's sort of the category, the same category that you see in RETA and stuff, which is something that they're working off of. But they are very aware that cities do not like RETA.
Is that different than Section 8 housing?
It is different. They're thinking more of like tax credit properties and things that they're proposing is like gap funding for certain projects who kind of just need that last leg. And then more on the county side, they're thinking like tying in Section 8 vouchers. And then for causes thinking about like the development production, preserving the existing like naturally occurring affordable housing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So the plan is to obtain, Measure 5 through legislation? Is that, you mentioned the 5th goal?
Yes. The 5th goal.
Yeah, the affordability piece,
Yeah.
5A, 5B.
Through legislation.
Through legislation, that's what I'm
And
understanding.
production, right? Like it's going to be up to the cities to.
Production by whom,
Yeah.
the cities, we don't build anything.
Yeah, well, we've
Right.
to them already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at that and it
Yeah.
briefs well.
Yeah, we've shared that feedback that cities don't build homes, right? Because there's red tape, there's permits, how am I gonna interest a developer to build in the city of X, Y, and Z? It's not ultimately up to us.
Yeah.
I think they're working on that.
Yeah. Yes, these are all the bigger objectives.
You have more slides?
We do.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
About La Casa or?
Well, I wanted to mention La Casa and Where are you going from here?
From here, we go to the.
Hop into the local.
Allocation.
Okay,
Okay.
let me talk a little bit about what's been going on with the subregions and some. I wrote down in the agenda, and I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. The demise of the 88 city strategy. Did I mention that? What happened was we had we've talked to you before about the scenarios. They came up with how much local solutions fund we're supposed to get out of Measure A. And this might be, maybe some repeat, but there was 6 scenarios of how much money the city should get from the local, the COG should get from the local solutions fund. And the Board of Supervisors deputies came up with scenario 6, because that gave the unincorporated areas the most money. We all came up with, the COGs came up with scenario 4 because that gave the COGs more money. And City of LA came up with scenario 1 because that gave the City of LA more money. So we decided, at least the big 3 COGs, which is us, San Gabriel Valley and Gateway, to join together and try to create an 88 city strategy and say that there's $96 million in this pot, but you know, if there was $110 million in this pot or something, everybody could get the highest scenario. So we went to City of LA, we said, we'll support your high scenario if you support this idea that we increase the pot. And this is in the context of the fact that one of the line items is $100 million for administration. So you would think that you increase the pot. For at least from that even. So we had the Mayor Bass supposedly said, yes, she agreed. We go for this 88 city strategy. We get to the day that the Board of Supervisors is voting and City of LA sends a letter saying they want their scenario 1. So at the end of the 88 city strategy, thanks to Janice Hahn and her motion, scenario 4, which was the motion where we got the most money, passed. So we're going to be getting over $3 million, a little bit over $3 million a year for our local solutions fund. I think it's important because this is the first year of Measure A. So the way they started is really going to be important. So that's what happened with the local solutions fund. And what you're going to be hearing next is what our city allocations are. And just to pat ourselves on the back, the county tried very hard to separate the cities from the COGs, and they went after some of the larger cities and said, we'll fund you directly. You don't have to go through the COGs. And in San Gabriel Valley, 7 or 8 cities, I guess, are going directly.
50% of their funding.
50% of their funding is lost.
23 for
Gateway, yeah, in Gateway, they're losing 7 cities and we're losing none of us. We went to our big
United we
cities,
stand.
yeah, explained the amount of work we're doing for them. So I feel very, very proud of the work that our staff has done, because our cities know that they're getting value from what we're doing.
So the big cities, what's the number of population? What's the,
I don't know, but I think they tried to come to Hawthorne.
oh, I hope so.
No, they did.
They did?
The big 3 that they tried to were Hawthorne, Torrance, and Inglewood.
All right,
So
fantastic.
quite literally 5 populations for a large city.
All right, good, good, good.
Right. But in the other COGs, those cities are going separate, and it's destroying the COG program.
Yes.
Because the COG doesn't have enough money then to. So I'm, we're doing very well. So that's that. Now La Casa had by law, I guess, La Casa is supposed to do prevention services. And they had 1 staff when the Measure A started April 1st, or I guess they have 2 people now. Yeah, when Measure A passed, they had 1 staff. So I thought that the county was going to say, well, even though by law you have to do this, we'll contract with you and do prevention until you get yourself on your feet, but they didn't do that. So now La Casa is in charge with very, very minimal staff of all of these things. So Ronson has decided that it might be really good to work on something which could lapse, which is legal services for people that are in threat of eviction, for example. Those people need legal help, and the legal services were part of the prevention. Just going over to La Casa, who doesn't know which end is up right now. So we've gone to the other big COGs and said, if the South Bay takes the lead, would you be willing to work with us on 1 contract for all the COGs, keep legal services going? And Ronson is on vacation. We're working on that.
Yes, we're in contact right now with both the state council, but also the city attorney's office for LA City as well, because they're funding will also get that. So we have quite a few meetings within the next couple of weeks, just because they lose funding in 2 weeks.
Right.
Like even before my career's over, I think they have like a June, like 1 or 15 end date of funds for programming. So we've been in constant communication with the different, both nonprofits or legal aid foundations, and then as well the city attorney's office to make sure that we can all unite and band together and make sure that folks still have access to legal services and prevention services in that way. But if I just really briefly wanted to talk about one of the bullet points up there. So as Jackie mentioned, scenario 4 for LSF, so that's 90% ACS or 10% ACS, 90% our multi-year pit count.
Does everybody know what ACS is? It's ACS.
The American Community
American
Survey
Community Survey,
based on the McKinley-Vento Act.
yeah. It's conducted by the US Census. They basically take a representative sample, they survey it, and they, have to, obviously it's a sample, you can't survey everyone, so they extrapolate based on that representative sample, the data. So this is measured for income that they're using in place of, or as a proxy measure for the McKinney-Vento Act definition of homelessness, which includes families who are households. The reason they have to use this proxy is because McKinney-Vento is only measured by school district, and school districts, people coming from different cities, very different school districts, so it's not really representative, like a city is
Crystal clear.
measure.
Okay.
But it's a great,
It works great for us, and it incorporates families, which has been like a population like steady on the rise of experiencing homelessness. So it was our top choice before we were considering our United 88 Cities approach. And so we're really glad it passed because it benefits a lot of our, specifically our communities. Not all cities did well under this specific allocation or algorithm. For example, the West Side cities, this was probably their least favorite one. However, it worked really well for our region. So we're really pumped and excited that it worked out this way. I will say though, however, Jack already went over the fact that for us, we were able to maintain our facilities, which wasn't the same for the other COGs. And I know some folks at the other COGs felt blindsided because we weren't told or it wasn't shared with us that this would be the strategy up until like right before they went out and had all these talks. So for us, we were able to do okay. However, the more important piece, and I say this because during our GA, I had quite a few council members, city managers, representatives ask about the allocation sheet that you see there on the left. So if you look closely, or if you want to zoom in a little bit, David, please.
It's just a screenshot. It's not.
Yeah, it's just a screenshot, but you'll see there how much allocations, how much is allocated on the far right side of the grand total. That is supposed to be in quotations, the allocation for the city on the left-hand side that's shown there. And so this has caused a lot of confusion for our city. So we'll have emails or calls of, some of our smaller cities saying like, where's my $17,000 or where's my $40,000 that the county website says that I should be receiving. However, that is not, like, that's not, one, it's not how we approach homelessness, right? And it's surprising because that's also not how the county approaches homelessness, right? We're a regional collaborative approach to navigating homelessness. And so this feels counterintuitive to that. However, I think it was just so that folks would have in their mind a more equitable way to distribute resources. So on that front, it does make sense to me, right? So Inglewood should be able to access a proportion of funds, a proportional amount of funding in relation to the amount of unsheltered, unhoused people that they have. The same for Hawthorne, the same for.
He does have a website now with allocations, and we've had them list all of the South Bay cities. And just shows our allocation so that it's clear that that's what we're getting. And for the other COGs, they're listing the cities separately.
Yes.
Or going separately.
Yeah. However, people did have access beforehand. When this was first shared, it was every single city in LA County. And so a lot of cities have reached out having questions about, the 40,000 they were allotted or the 17,000. And so we just really want to emphasize, right, that we do take a regional approach. So just because on the sheet, it says that your equal, or your equitable proportion would be $20,000 or $40,000 or $60,000, does not mean that you'll get that, because we're using it to fund resources for the entire region, like flexible funds for rental arrears or car repair or reunification efforts or street outreach, case management program that benefits the entire region. So we're definitely continuing that regional unified approach. So you will not be seeing a $20,000 allocation for you or a $15,000 allocation for your city. We've decided to do it as we've always done it and pool our resources so that it benefits the entire region, our entire community, not a specific city. And the reality is, you're not going to be able to do anything with $20,000. You're not gonna be able to pay a case manager, an outreach team. That doesn't even cover administrative costs for anything. But we did want to be transparent and so we understand why it was done, so that folks are aware of what they should likely be accessing. However, for us specifically, we've decided to continue our united regional approach in addressing homelessness as a community.
So all the South Bay COGS that is mentioned there, right? So that money is going to come to South Bay.
It's all coming
Yes, all of it, yeah.
for all of the resources that
And
would,
so some people
And
have
so-
questions because they have allotments on there.
I have to move on, and I know there's.
Yes, go for it.
But the one thing the other thing I wanted to mention,
Okay.
going back and forth, is La Casa, the one that's the Prevention and the Housing Trust Agency, is actually holding a meeting here at our office. And well, they're not holding a meeting. The COGS have invited the CEO to come with also somebody from the leadership table, and it will be next week, right? 28th, I don't even remember, here at our office. And so we want to talk to them about, the new CEO of La Casa supposedly is very good, but he doesn't know anything about COGS or LA. I think he's a financial person. So, so we want to sort of develop a partnership since he's brand new. So that meeting will be happening.
There's also on the current CEO, Ryan Johnson, he will not be continuing after his
Intern.
Yeah, they will be hiring.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
Ross sent us the email last week.
So
Yeah.
when did that, did he know that?
He didn't know that when he signed on. I think as things transpired, he would like to be released.
Oh, okay. Well, we should get on to, I do want to talk, and I do want to talk a little bit more about the housing trust and the incredulity that Ray Jackson mentioned, but I'm going to do that under REIT. Get to our housing trust. So why don't we go on to city funding requests, because we have to move on.
Someone tried to.
White, I keep saying white doesn't work. Okay. So we have to move.
It's better on. It's not.
It's something.
On your computer it does,
It's
but
actually
not
on
here.
fine.
Problem.
Yeah, this is a TV, you're right.
Okay. I won't go through all of it, we can also share resources after, but this is just for context, what the goals are, the 5 goals that are listed in Measure A. 1 through 3 being, again, like I said previously, the focus of the county, 4 and 5, the focus of the CASA. So the county is focusing on increasing the number of people moving from encampments or unsheltered homelessness into permanent housing. 2 being reduce the number of people with mental illness or substance use who experience homelessness. 3, increase the number of people permanently leaving homelessness. And then 4 and 5, like I said, for the process, prevent people from falling into homelessness and increase the number of affordable housing units. So these are also the goals that we're using in our framework as we are trying to figure out how to allocate funding to the programs for the region.
Legally required to work. We're legally required to base our budget and allocate.
Their goals.
These goals, correct.
Yeah.
That is the measure language.
Yeah, and metrics as well. You can go to the next slide, David. So Ronza put this budget together. This is based on funding requests from our cities and also like the continuation of some of the programs that we've run that are successful that we want to continue into Measure A. So you can see the annualized budget that Ronston has for each program. There's like 12, 13 programs. Some of these we have to split up in the scope of work. but continuing to do case management, supporting the Beach Cities Homeless Court, supporting Hawthorne's Access Center and staffing, staffing an Eaglewood coordinator, also a Gardena coordinator and housing map, so expanding their team a bit. Supporting the Torrance shelter costs, since there's a lot of maintenance and operations that we're going to support there. Continuing our time aid, continuing the motel, SRO leasing.
And expanding that one.
And expanding it, share as well. Expanding it, or is this?
That one was already.
Yeah. So continue our share program, and then we have a few sort of program roles, personnel roles, so document specialists, they would really be, our case managers have a huge caseload. There's a lot of paperwork and homeless services and a lot to manage. So having somebody with knowledge of the system who can expedite a lot of this paperwork and get people placed into housing be a huge benefit for case managers throughout the entire region. A regional housing retention specialist. This is somebody that we would like for our other prevention focused programs. It can also support case managers as well. Basically, obviously the transition from living unsheltered into a home can be very jarring. You can adjust and remember to pay your bills and how to be a good tenant. So having a housing retention specialist to kind of, guide people, make sure that they're following building rules, making sure they're covering their utilities until they are really able to support themselves and be successful in the long term. And then housing focused case management. This is for the contracts that we have with St. Margaret Center and WLCAC, housing specialist, which is me. And then we have our program administration costs for all of Measure A to be around 300,000. You can see that total annual Measure A allocation. This is an estimate. It will vary depending on tax revenue. And then the last thing is Measure A carryover funding, which we will be continuing, or ideally continuing, for our TLS program, which we have a few candidates who are still currently looking for their housing options. Once they find their housing placement, we'll be able to support them with rent. And then, so it's that money for carryover to programs. And then you'll see the goal of how many people we would like to support and get into housing and off the streets, ideally, it's our goal for each of these programs.
Is this budget starting on July 1st, 2025, or?
Yes.
I like that goal, off the
Ideally.
streets.
Yeah.
Right, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yes.
the permanent
Ideally.
supportive housing.
Yes, well, I think the big move right now is, from what I've gathered in all the meetings that we attend, is they're really aiming to reduce that just unsheltered population. So before it was unsheltered to interim, well, before, it was unsheltered to permanent, then it was unsheltered to interim, and now it's, I think, both. I think it's just getting them off the streets in general, getting.
But the goals, according to the goal slide that we saw, was
Yes.
Yeah.
permanent supportive housing.
Yeah.
All, so it will go back to permanent.
Okay.
And then our interim cost is running a bit high, and they did mention that in the board of supervisors last week. I think it was Supervisor Horvath was saying that we spend a ton of money in interim solutions. So we have really high like bed rates or, really high costs here. However, the throughput is like it just doesn't really make sense in the long scheme of things. So the thought is that they're moving to permanent housing, but ultimately they want to prevent people from falling into housing and then just get people off the streets.
Right.
So they haven't. How we're all gonna get there, we'll all know tomorrow. Our SOWs are due to the county tomorrow to guarantee funding by July 1.
What I wanted to say is we're asking you to actually vote on this today, but instead of being a recommendation to we have to turn this into the county tomorrow. So the board can, I'd probably change it if the board wants to. So still is a recommendation, but please know we're sending it to the county.
Question about the funding. So my understanding is being funded by this tax measure.
Yes.
There's no guarantee of the dollar amount that's gonna come in from that, right?
That's why it's a range. They don't commit to the number.
So is anyone underwriting the staffing of, like, let's say we don't get enough tax revenue, or we're staffed at 40? If there's a shortfall, makes up the difference, or where does that additional money come from?
For us, we'd probably be okay because we have underspend or carryover from our last measure, so we would be fine through the year.
But also it would come out of things like client aid. It would come out of things, not all of that is people. So it would have to come out of the
Yeah.
programs that were not people.
Do you think it's sustainable over it's called a 5-year period?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, because we have enough of that. We're not completely staffing up to all that money. That wouldn't be.
Yeah, we don't
sustainable.
know.
So what are we voting on then?
You're voting on that last slide before this.
That
It's
number.
on page 29 to 31
Right.
of the.
So it's, and it would be, because we have to submit it to the county tomorrow.
So we're voting on up to 40.
You're voting on, well, you're voting on the 3,488,000. The 40, that 40 is just a goal, and you're not voting on the goals,
Yeah.
really. You're only voting on the dollar amount. So.
Other questions? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, David.
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, now that we're talking about housing, we really should talking about something that came up over the weekend. Our housing trust consultant delivered to us what's called, I was going to bring this up under week 2, but it's a housing needs analysis. And it's really an interesting document that RENA requirements that South Bay cities have, and also the available funding that you might have in preparation, for the trust decision that we have to make. But one of the things that was startling and sort of amazing, actually, was if you take all of the money we have today and you take the RENA number, we are and they added too much money in. So this is really less than what we need. But they're projecting we need $1.133 billion annually to meet your RENA targets. Now, that's just the South Bay. So we want to take this and, wrap it around somebody in the state. And I'm going to bring it up at SCAG. We're just going to use this because it's so unbelievably ludicrous. And as I wrote to Wally and I were going back and forth on this, the only known is failure. The question is how much failure we're going to have, right? Because this is so ridiculous. Wally, do you want to say anything about it?
Well, it's a system that's designed to fail. And it's really about it's about Sacramento's idea of forcing development at the local level without anything that you might say about it. As most of you know, I have been an opponent of the whole RENA thing for some time. And I had an article in our newsletter last year about this is an obsolete idea and it's crude. It's a very crude policy. And one of the things I was looking at the aspiration here with Los and so forth was go up to 2,400 units and so a year. The reports that I'll take a look at it. $655,000 a DU to produce. So take that number times the number of units that they're talking about to meet their goal. And it's just none of this works. It just does not work. And so I think the real path here is to push back against the HCD and the Newsom administration and say, come on, wake up. And worst, I've understood from some of the advocates that as of, I think it's like June 1st for Sandag and July 1st for SCAG, that HCD is going to come down and take a look at whether you've got, that's halfway point of the RENA 6 cycle. You need to have half of your assessment with occupancy certificates by the midpoint, and that's around this summer. And if not, they can come in and the penalties can include turning this over to developers, period, with
Builder's remedy.
yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of a disaster here. And the only way right now to get affordable housing, what's funny to me is that none of this stuff talks about affordable what are the current rents? Now, what's the difference between what's affordable and what's the current rent? And then at 650,000, Jackie and I were talking about, we got $650,000 a unit. if the difference between a low income person and the rent that makes it affordable is 60,000 a year, that means if you took that money as opposed to building housing, you gave it as a subsidy to the people who need it, then boom, you wouldn't have to build anything. And because then everything's automatically affordable using the same amount of money. But again, this is a growth policy that's being directed by the state. Now, the only way you get affordable housing is through density bonuses. And again, none of this is tied to, you might ask HCD, what's the target rent you're looking for by flooding the market with more housing? Because if it's like potatoes and there's more of it, it drives the cost of rental housing down, then there ought to be a target you're looking for. But there's not. It's done by some sort of black box formula, which is honestly dishonest. And the only way you get to it is not by bringing those rents down by adding housing, like supply and demand. You have to give up density to the tune of 5 market rate units for every 1 affordable unit. So you're looking at something at that margin that's going on 5 times the amount of housing you needed to get there when there's other ways of doing it. It's all really quite disturbing when you get into the mechanics of it. And I'm looking forward to looking at the report in some detail. But it is really a failing. We want to do the housing trust because it's divine right with flexibility and stuff. We could do other things, but this is what's the word? A scam. This is designed to fail and you're going to lose local control entirely the way it's going. So I will get up and advocate as much as I can to as many people as I can that the system needs to change. I'm talking about, I'll say it now, the Reina Rebellion. And I'd like to organize all the subregions around a rebellion where we all just say, no, we're not going to do it.
That's a better name than Our Neighborhood Voices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It is, Jane. But if we could organize all the major subregions and say, no, this is just not right.
Yes.
We'll see.
It's possible that we can use this report to go get the money that the state just get from the proposition they passed last year for housing.
Well, isn't that what we're talking about?
No, but the report is for a housing trust. It's just a needs assessment. And so it's a factual document, but it's not, I don't know. We can talk about that, I guess, at another time.
Yeah.
A couple of hands up.
Go ahead.
They still not ready to develop.
Just to pile on, and adding insult to injury, RENA is not judicially reviewable by its express terms. You can't challenge the number that you were assigned in court. Additionally, I don't think the RENA numbers that we got allocated 2 years ago or so took into consideration inflation, tariffs, or rising interest rates, all of which are adversely affecting our abilities to meet our RENA numbers.
Go ahead, Britt.
Thank you. So to your point, sir, we all know it's an exercise in futility. We're all going to spend countless amount of hours bitching and kvetching and all that kind of stuff. We're going to submit something, play the kabuki dance, so they say, yeah, you're good until the next iteration. So to your point, what can, outside of Our Neighborhood Voices, which doesn't seem to be gaining any momentum, what can we do as a COG in coordination with the other various COGs? Could we sue? Should we sue? I mean, why don't we go and the RENA rebellion this is ridiculous. We all know it's ridiculous. Every elected, even those up in Sacramento who agree with us, need to join and say, hey, this is an exercise in futility. We waste so much time and energy and money as individual cities dealing with this every whatever number of years. And we're looking at our mid-year report now. And then, the amount of time and energy we spend when we all know nothing's happening. So what can we do? I mean, I think we all band together as, we get the COGs together in a RENA rebellion. Let's, I guarantee you, COGs would be willing to cough up some money, get the good law firm, the ones that successfully sued on SBA 8 or 9, SB 9 and 10.
So that they could do it again.
Right. I mean, so there's so, otherwise we're going to just be all sitting here.
Well, Ray, I think it's a double pronged. I think the judicial route is a good idea, but I also think it's politics. And
oh yeah, no doubt about it.
I have drafted an alternative. You guys want housing? This is how you do it. We will look at our own carrying capacity.
Right.
And we will look at what you want in the end of the day. See, I said RENA is a crude tool. It gives you a number. doesn't tell you how to build it except near transit and bikeways. Well, that's preposterous. When you look at the transit ridership, we've just actually, Jake and I did an analysis. You're looking at 2 and 3% ridership. So trying to build your town around that is crazy. And there's like a 1/10 of 1% bike mode share. So what we want to be able to say is you need a mobility strategy. You want to build in proximity, give us a model. You pay for the model of how we would.
But no one's listening to that.
Housing.
They're not listening to that.
No, but they would if enough of us got together and said, we're not.
Please do.
We want to rebel, but we want to substitute something else that works for us. And that would be a bottom-up approach to regional housing development. And I can design it. I mean, I know what it is.
Okay, we're gonna have to probably move.
Good.
Real quickly, I mean, if we don't have Arena Rebellion, we're having a residents rebellion because in every single of our districts, we're all facing a lot of heat from our residents. And so, we need to be able to come back and say, we have a plan. They're tired of hearing our hands are tied. And so, you know.
They're willing to
whatever you
hire
need,
private attorneys right
we'll do
now.
it. And people are, yep, exactly. I mean, just this morning alone, I've gotten every single day, we're getting emails from our
What are
residents.
they complaining about to you?
Oh, just because we had to update our housing, we had to amend some of our,
Sides of-
yeah. So, I mean, nothing that actually impacts what we're already, because more people are
Density
speaking up.
is
to-
terrible for the locals. I mean, it's not, they always, the YIMBYs say these are just NIMBYs and they disagree with you. And I said, not in my backyard. It's not in anybody's backyard. These
Yeah.
just don't be bad ideas. And forcing more density without really effective mobility strategy is insane.
I mean, I think we need to have a serious conversation collectively to figure out
Yeah,
how to resolve this going forward. Otherwise, every time we mention arena, we're all gonna sit around and complain. I mean, why are my arena numbers 500 something when El Segundo, which is 5 times our size, is lower than us? We're 1.4 square miles. Where we're gonna put 500 units? We're not gonna turn into South Beach.
I have a complaint about Torrance having less than Gardena and they're.
Right.
And-
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
We're gonna move-
Have to build 1,700.
So the point is, I think
We're gonna move on.
unless we pursue the judicial route,
Okay, well, I'm actually gonna be at, next Wednesday as a SCAG call with the executive directors. And I've already asked that this be on the agenda and we'll see what we can do about talking to the executive directors.
arena rebellion.
I know.
Yeah.
I like it.
There is a bill in the state legislature right now, AB 670, that would allow local jurisdictions to count units in an existing multifamily building converted to affordable housing, but you're deed restricted.
It's on our legislative, the next item, yes.
So there are other legislative actions. But yeah, I just wanted
These
to.
feel good measures, everyone.
I know.
That's another help.
Okay, I'm gonna call it, David has a, have the legislative.
Builders.
No.
And then we're.
I don't know if anybody, but while David's bringing up the legislative presentation, does anybody have any comments on the legislative briefing that we just had? We just had one last week.
Well, it was nice of Maxine to show up and the only one, and we continually get representatives, but, and I appreciate the fact that, a lot of people sent in questions this time, because there was a whole sheet full.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
That was well done.
And did
I'd really like to thank Jackie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if we don't put the questions out there, you know, we won't get the answers. So if you guys really want to know, I think we ought to do that, but, for most part, I thought it was okay.
Okay, and the next one's July 10th. Okay, David,
We don't normally put slides
Right.
together, but there were so many of them this month that I needed something to talk to besides the charge that's in your agenda packet. So the first one is AB 888, the California Safe Home Grant Program. And this would help create a fund that would provide funding for both residents as well as cities, counties, and special districts to help with fireproofing. The Cal City's position is a support pending. And then we are also recommending a support as well.
so we should just go through all of these and then we'll.
Yeah, then. Next,
If you have a specific objection to any of these, let us know as we're going.
this
I have a
was
question. I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
We recommend or oppose, do we have any leverage? when We send our list up? Are they paying attention to us?
I think they count letters. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they put them into like the staff analysis at the legislature, when they get a support or oppose, they listed in the write-up that they do how much import that has to electives that aren't ours. Who knows? As you'll see, there's always, I mean, you guys know the housing onslaught continues, so we write opposition letters to almost all of them, and this still seem to pass for the most part, but I think our legislators do listen. I mean, some of the tougher legislative, the housing bills in the past, Ben Allen or Al Marsucci have voted against, I think, at least in part, probably due to how our cities are feeling.
Thank you.
Next up is, this one's a really bad one, actually, by Ben Allen. This is the bill to expand the Metro Board of Directors. Right now, there's 14 members on the Metro Board, 13 are voting. That 14th one is technically an appointee by the state. That's always the Caltrans District 7 director. And this bill is aimed to expand the Metro Board in conjunction with the expansion of the Board of Supervisors after Measure G was passed. What is really, in our opinion, atrocious about this one is not only do the 4 new supervisors get seats, the elected CEO gets a seat and they get 3 appointees. So this would make a 22-member board, 21 voting members. 13 of the 21 seats would be affiliated with the county. So that's a voting majority for the county.
You don't need the board.
You don't need a board at that point.
The coup d'etat.
We're gonna have a meeting tomorrow with Ben Allen's staff and the other COGs. We don't have an alternative amendments yet to recommend to them, but at this rate, that right now there's 4 seats that represent all of the other cities in the county. After you throw in these new seats, each county seat represents about 70,000 people. The city sector seats represent anywhere between 900,000 and 1.5 million. You've completely skewed the per capita weighting with the proposal as it is. There really isn't much reason for a county CEO to have a seat at the end of the day, in our opinion, but so recommending opposed unless amended.
But all the other kids have one, so they want one too.
Exactly.
Seriously, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Stupid.
AB 11 is the Social Housing Act, which would create a state housing authority to build residential development in communities throughout the state. So following up on just the last conversation, they would have to consult with the cities on preferences, but at the end of the day, they would not have to follow any of your local zoning codes, height limits, etc.
So basically eminent domain, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
nice.
AB 252 is the California Residential Private Permitting Review Act. So if applicant for a residential building that's 1 to 10 units, and then no human occupancy above 40 feet off the ground, they could contract with a private plan checker to review their plans. If your city's timeframe is more than 30 days to complete, or they don't complete it within 30 days. Those private firms will not have all of your individual city codes in it. And it creates sort of a profit incentive to just sign off on all of these check plans. AB 507 is an adaptive reuse streamlining, another erosion of local control bill. This would require cities to ministerially approve office to residential conversions, exempt them from impact fees not directly related to the project itself. Just another lot of local control.
That directly conflicts with the housing trust we're looking, right? Because we're talking about upzoning from commercial to residential.
That's one of the other REIT projects. The housing trust itself doesn't have the programs identified, figured out yet. But this could conflict with.
That exactly, right. So they're going from, $50 a square foot to $1,000 a square foot with nothing going back.
To the city.
Right.
Planning and zoning, housing element, convertible affordable housing units. This is the one that Miranda was just referencing. This would allow cities to count conversion of market rate to affordable units in existing buildings. And this would actually be something that our housing trust could actually support and would be a benefit to the cities. Cal Cities is supporting this bill and we're recommending a support on that one. AB 874, the Mitigation Fee Act, affordable rental housing. This would waive all fees on residential projects that have at least 49% lower income household units reserved for lower income households. You would be able to only collect fees to fund code enforcement, inspection services, and fees to enforce the local ordinances or state laws. AB 1154 ADUs. This is about junior ADUs. It would require you from having any parking requirements on ADUs less than 500 square feet. It would remove owner occupancy requirements if they have like restrooms separate from the main residence, and would prohibit them from being short-term rentals. Next up is SB 79, which is another bill, a local control bill, would require you to approve projects up to 7 stories near public transit stops ministerially, and would actually allow transit agencies full land use authority over residential and commercial development on property they own or lease.
That's the new 22 member.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. And it's.
So Metro is not only a transit agency, then they're also a housing agency.
So on Tuesday night, last Tuesday, we passed a resolution sent to
And
the
you-
state opposing that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we did as well.
SB 358 is another mitigation fee bill. And this would require you to reduce your traffic impact fees by at least 50% if a proposed development is located within a transit priority area, or if a major transit stop is planned to be there within 1 year of the scheduled completion and occupancy of the development. Or if the development is located a half mile from a store that provides necessities, that's such as groceries.
Oh, what?
Oh my
So
God.
what is necessary is not defined, but we should all have a law about that. Yeah.
Such as grocery store.
Next up is SB 677, streamlined approvals, and this would require, would limit your ability to impose objective standards on SB 9 projects that are less than 1,750 square feet. You wouldn't be able to provide setback requirements, height limits, lot coverage limits, floor area ratios. And you could not collect impact fees on projects that are less than 1,750 square feet.
I live in this world.
And then the last one is actually a support one, AB 875. And this one's from Assemblymember Marisucci, and it would allow officers to essentially confiscate e-bikes if they're pretty much modified beyond what is defined for that class of e-bike. And it would also allow them to remove a bike that's operated by somebody under 16 years old if they're operating class 3, or if they're doing it with riding without a helmet. And we're recommending support on
This is our last one, but the LA Times had an article this morning about AB 605. I don't know if any of you saw it. It had to do with, and I have to talk to Kim about this. And it said that that the way it was described, it said that we could not change our energy codes.
I think it's 306.
306,
I think it was 306.
whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
Some number.
Yeah, and well, you can't change your energy codes for 6 years because, and you can't, it was to remove a lot of the climate energy efficiency on housing in order to make housing low And the article in the paper, it was about how just because you remove an energy requirement doesn't necessarily make affordable housing. And so what you're doing is you're removing all of your energy requirements in the name of affordable housing, and it doesn't even.
And your energy costs go up.
And you're, yeah, it doesn't like, so I guess I would, because of this, I would like what, I thought it was 605, but whatever it is, I'd like to be able to bring that to the board. To probably oppose if it's what it said it is, because it sounds ridiculous to me.
Bring it back.
So I wanted to get back to what Wally had mentioned and Ray's point, and everyone here, I think, chimed in. It seems right now, we as a COG, we as a state really need to figure out the lawsuit angle or whatever we can do from this COG to start it. But I know we write grants and do all the other stuff, but we need funding for a lawsuit. And if there's any way to go out and get support, if we have to join with neighborhood voices or whatever. 677 is going to get rid of all your deed restrictions, all your CC&Rs. You have zero local control. I mean, these guys and gals are out of control in Sacramento.
Let's keep coming.
They don't care.
I think we have to band together now.
Yeah.
From the COG officially. I don't know how you get it on the agenda and to a vote or from that standpoint, but I really believe other than helping the homeless, doing what we can to stop this move by Sacramento to destroy the place.
Should be a priority.
Yeah. I mean,
Not only will it destroy the look and feel of the communities, it's also massive unfunded liability because they're not allowing us to recover any costs for any of this building. So it's a complete unfunded mandate that will drive some cities into insolvency.
That's a great point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jackie, that was AB 306.
AB 306. Okay, I had some of the numbers right. Thank you.
So my question is, I'm new to the board here, but how do you get to an official position, voted and move in the direction?
What I'm getting from today is a direction, talk to the other COGs, and maybe I can come back to the board meeting with some idea of the kind of support we can get together. So
As a comment.
I will promise to you to come back to the board meeting with more information.
And this is on our agenda for tomorrow from the police department regarding e-bikes. I don't know if that's resolved in all your cities, but our chief is asking that we support Assembly Bill 2234, which imposes a ban on children under the age of 12 from riding e-bikes. And it also includes driver license requirements for or to sign a skills waiver issued by the California Highway Patrol before operating an e-bike.
I'm gonna add that as what you're saying.
Sure, so I'd move to take all the positions staff recommended plus add AB support for AB 2234 and support for, was it AB or SB?
The 306?
Yeah.
Opposed 306.
Opposed 3.
AB.
I think we need more information on that one first.
I'm gonna very.
306?
Yeah, because it was just one opinion author
Got it.
statement,
I
so.
will bring, yeah, if it's okay, I want to add
Right.
306 and some went back. Okay.
Absolutely.
So your motion is look into 306 for opposed.
Yeah.
And support
Support
2334.
2334. And then all,
Mark me as a yes on that.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, Jake, are you familiar with 2234?
Become familiar with it.
You have this motion on the floor, but yeah.
I second.
Seconded? Okay.
Go ahead, David.
No, we have do you want to talk afterwards?
I'll talk afterwards, just an observation.
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Thank you. Go ahead, Wally.
My comments at the General Assembly, one of them was that we have to deal with silos in Sacramento, and bureaucratic silos. And this is a great example of where this happens. You've got, on one hand, you've got part of the state government saying housing going forward has to include, for environmental reasons, for extreme heat, you have to include air conditioning. And so the cost of air conditioning per unit, when it's already now $655,000, I don't know what it's gonna do. But at the other hand, you've got the energy guys saying, no, you don't want to have to change your energy plan. Yeah, air conditioning uses energy. So you have this incredible conflict around cost as well as the infrastructure, as well as the demand for electricity. So there you have it. State government bureaucracies stuck in silos.
Thank you.
No, that's bad.
Thank you. David will now be busy writing letters for.
Power to the people.
Yes, David?
Okay, so now we're on to environmental services. We have to really speed up, but, yeah, I'm. Project that we're doing with the city of Rolling Hills. We have been, the COG has been hired to promote their art, to educate and do promotion, educational videos as well as like written content for organic waste and how to handle organic waste. And so, and this is funded, it's a grant that the city got under Cal Recycle. And so internally, we don't have this staff expertise. And so we're going to hire, hopefully, we're going to hire a technical consultant that will do this, you know, do the education piece for us. And so it's a $10,000 contract. We did do a request for quotes. We had several firms get back to us. We received 5 responses and then we reviewed them. We're working closely with the city staff. They reviewed our scope of work to the consultants as well as our recommendation for the selection, and our recommendation is Economics Inc., who's done a lot of work with other cities creating these educational pieces. And then, and it's a very small, like I said, contract is $10,000. So I'm asking today if you can make a recommendation to the board, our board, for approval.
Quick question.
Sure.
Isn't there a trash provider or their service provider? And I know ours has videos and
Yeah.
flyers and
So
they even put on the cans, here's your list of what goes in, what doesn't.
it varies from city to city, how they actually handle the organic waste. In Rolling Hills, they actually don't have green bins. They bundle their greens. So the trash hauler does do education about what the residents need to do with it. This is to do things like, what you know, can you do a kitchen pail? And how do you do a kitchen pail for your green waste? Do you do composting? What does that look like? Reduction of household organic waste anyway. Do you do it through, you know, keeping your leftovers, you know, those kinds of messaging. So it's not the how to specifically, it's all the other stuff, right? That comes from the hauler. Actually, your city is different because you have.
Green bins.
Yeah.
But
Not only that, you have in your waste hauler contract, you work with the California Green Business Network that also provides education, at least to the businesses and other things to your waste hauler. So your contract with your waste hauler is different. Manhattan Beach is different also. You guys both do it that same way. You built it into your waste hauler contracts, which was really smart. Rolling Hills is small. They don't have that kind of a.
They're saying they're not smart.
Things are being taped here. No, they are very smart. Because they hired the COG to do this work for them.
Oh.
As a matter of fact. So
Do you need a
anyway,
motion to
asking for
approve?
approval.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, David?
Any objections? Any abstentions?
Do you have anything else? Yeah, I just have a couple other things I wanted to let you know. We are working with the county to do a specific business direct install program. Actually, we're meeting with the city of Gardena. Very excited about that. This is a very targeted project and they're only going to target 2 locations a year, but we are the first. They're coming to us first. And they're looking for very specific locations. It'd be a combination of creating like a foodie, like a neighborhood foodie, which is like a refrigerator unit to help bring in healthier food into the community, along with additional benefits to the facility. So we're working on that. We have that meeting with the city.
And then we're still waiting for the rollout of the direct install for residential. So that'll be coming. Just a few more things. We're working really closely with the city of Redondo Beach on chiller, hopefully chiller upgrades and some improvements, energy efficiency improvements to the Performing Arts Center. City of Inglewood, we've been working with their outside consultant that is going to be implementing energy efficiency across several buildings. And then with the city of El Segundo, we have met with the city staff because they have a lot of fantastic opportunity for lighting upgrades and could save the city a lot of money. So those are some of the top projects that are going on. Any questions?
Okay, I'll go on to the board meeting. This board meeting, we're gonna have, which is next week, we're gonna have the first quarter report on our energy and climate recognition program and how your cities are doing. Because it's climate month, Wally is gonna give you another installment on his thoughts on climate for Earth Month. And David has successfully graduated from the Leadership Academy of California Council of Governments. And we thought you might want to hear what you learned. We paid for that, for him to do that. And so he's going to give us a sort of an update on what he learned at the Leadership Academy. In May, we're going to be hearing an update. I asked for an update on Functional Zero because we don't want to make Functional Zero just one ceremony. We want to make sure that cities are maintaining it. So we're going to get a Redondo Beach Functional Zero update in May. And we're also going to hear from the, which I'm sure you've all been waiting for, the ITC, the Inglewood Transit Center project will give their update. June is already the transition, which is amazing. And which means, I guess, that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be opening up the nominations for if you want to be an officer of the COG. We'll be doing that. And then July, we're going to have a housing trust update. Now, I have down here inviting speakers, and I stopped inviting Nathan Hoffman because he's been everywhere. And so I think maybe we should invite him in the fall or something, but I don't know what, I mean,
He's the keynote speaker at Contract Cities too.
Yeah, he's,
Like, do you have anything left to say? I don't think so.
yeah. And then I haven't, I've invited the Air Force colonel who hasn't actually gotten back to me. He was at the General Assembly and said he wanted to speak. So I'll let you know. Right now, I have nothing really more to report on any of that. And we were going to arrange a tour of Remember Harbor UCLA, which we haven't done yet, and Alta Sea. So those are two things that I need to get back on track with.
Good.
Okay. And then next thing is the office space. And that's David again.
Yes, so there's a memo in the agenda packet with an update on everything. We're in, I think, the final round of negotiations on the lease. We got comments back from our legal counsel that were provided to their counsel. They wrote comments back, and then we sent our comments on those comments back to them. Following the direction from the steering committee last month, we moved forward with a 7-year lease proposal with the addition of that bottom floor that would primarily serve as the boardroom space. With that proposal, we were able to get 8 months of free rent throughout the term of the lease. Thank you. The main difference between this, the rental rate at this space and the new location is that here everything is sort of all inclusive in the rent per square foot rate. At the Van Ness location, they have certain things that are separated out. One of which is called the CAM fee, common area maintenance. And this is a monthly cost to cover landlord expenses for like operation maintenance of parking areas, trash areas, landscaping, that sort of stuff. Additionally, electricity is metered separately at that location, so the COG would have an electric bill when today we do not. And then the other piece is janitorial services. Here, those are also inclusive in our rental rate. There, it's separated out. We're collecting quotes for either using the building's janitorial service or getting our own options. The proposal from the current space, was $2.75 a square foot for the new lease. At the new location, by the time you add in all of the different fees and everything, we're estimating it to be about $2 a square foot. So we're still significantly cheaper than if we were to stay at the same region. The couple items that we're still working on with the points in the actually, these were already resolved in the last round. The holdover fee, which is if we were to stay past our lease date end date, it was set at 200% of your monthly rent. We were able to get it down to 150, which is the standard. The CAM fee, the maintenance fee, is also going to be capped at 25 cents, no more than 25 cents for the entirety of the, actually 85 months of the lease as opposed to just 65 months. We had to amend the confidentiality language that was in there because we're a public agency. There's still a fee to process a sublease if we were to do that. But that language is actually similar to the language we have in our current lease. So it's probably pretty standard language at the end of the day. So we're recommending that the steering committee recommend the board approval of the lease at their April meeting pursuant to the COG's legal counsel's approval on the final lease language. And this would allow the construction to start. We were informed that if we were able to get some sort of approval today, that there's still a pretty high likelihood that they could get the boardroom suite done by around June 1st, which would allow us to have that new space set up in time for our June board meeting, so we don't have to be off-site anywhere.
But otherwise, the rent would start in July.
Yeah, so if it is ready for us to go in June 1st, the rent would start for that suite 90. The suite 110, 150, where all the COG staff would be, is a much longer time frame, and so you'd have like a proration of rent. So we would start paying rent on the suite 90, and then when suite 110 is ready, that would start. But our first month's payment is included in the security deposit amount that when we sign the lease, we have to do a deposit and the first month's. The first rent bill would not be until most likely July 1st or later, depending on when move-in is ready. We do not yet have a construction schedule for the 110, 150 space. It's a much bigger build out, so that would probably be a couple months. So staff would probably have to do a telework or not have, just kind of live in the open space of the boardroom. But the goal is hopefully to not
And
have to be.
there's offices in there too.
Yeah, there's a few offices.
Yeah, they'll be the offices.
Right. But the goal is to hopefully not have to have off-site meetings if we can get the main.
But we have contacted City of Torrance for availability of off-site rooms if we need to.
Let's see, IT, we're working with our vendor Sharp on costs such as pulling all of the cabling out of this unit, which is required by our lease, transferring what equipment is currently here that can be relocated to the new space, what new equipment we would need. The new boardroom obviously is much larger than this one, so this conference equipment may not be sufficient for that new larger space, so we're working through all of those details. We're also going to start getting more fine-tuned quotes from AT&T or Spectrum on internet service. And we're going to start working through inventory of the office furniture that we have here that can be relocated and what the additional needs on new furniture would be. We'll come back with proposals for you all coming months on that. In the 2355 space, we're starting to work get some moving quotes from movers to relocate the furniture. The Xerox equipment will have to be relocated. And then as we kind of touched on, we're working on kind of contingency plans for if we need to have offsite board and steering and transportation. In terms of the budget, at mid-year, the board approved a $75,000 moving budget. As of right now, the only for sure known is the security deposit for Dennis space. If you take that out, we have about 50,000 remaining for the and we will have to be able to kind of fine tune those numbers as we get some of these. So the action that we're asking for the steering committee today is to recommend the board approval of the lease agreement pursuant to our legal counsel's review of the final.
But are you also asking for
It,
pre-approval?
yeah, there.
I guess the question is, we're asking you to ask the board to approve the lease, but if you want to give an extra indication, they'll start tenant improvements now. If not, we'll wait on tenant improvements till after the.
Which will just kind of cut down in that window that we have to.
Yeah, so it means we might have to do an offsite. Okay. Anyway, so that's.
Questions? Motions to approve,
Question approved.
second?
That's to approve, to take to the board or,
And to start the.
and to start.
Start.
And who's the second?
So, yeah,
Okay, so the pre-approval, that includes pre-approval?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether he likes it or not.
The one.
Okay, any objections?
Use that $10,000 for the track.
Okay, I'm
okay, buddy.
gonna go back in just a second. I also forgot to mention at the board meeting, there will be an executive session on my annual performance. If you haven't, I think there's something going around, I don't know.
Well, if you haven't done your eval on Jackie yet, please do it. We were gonna do it today, but there was a slight non-participation. We only had like 2 or 3 come in and then we had 4 and that was it. So we postponed it till the board meeting.
I don't remember to have it, or I didn't see it.
I'll make sure.
You'll make sure you get it, yeah.
Why don't you send?
I can pretend I didn't see it. but-
It was actually pretty easy this time, easier than the last one. This one, you just kind of filled it, I hit the button and it went.
Yeah.
Slacker, I didn't spell slacker.
Yeah, not for just.
All right.
Go on to
Right.
AT.
Invoices.
Everybody get to see the bills and how much we paid?
So
Move to approve.
Okay, got him. David?
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Hey, Jackie.
Great. Okay, then, next is General Assembly. You guys have a, I don't know, anybody that wants to say anything about the General Assembly? We have a little bit of a presentation, but any comments?
It was excellent. I love it.
So as the, as the board chair that actually had to do everything up there, it wasn't me and everybody said you did a great job, but you know, I really do have to thank staff because the entire staff gave me a thing and said, here you go, this is what you do. I got to read it. I knew what I was gonna say. I went up there and they had all the slides and the IT guys did, I'm telling you, it wasn't for staff, that wouldn't have worked. And everybody was really happy about the past, present, and where we're going in the future. Because even I didn't know a lot of stuff about the beginning. Even though I worked with a lot of people, but I thought it was.
Great job. Just real quick, we're putting in put money in the hat so we can get cigars for you that actually work.
You, I love you. Thank you.
Comments now or?
Oh, go ahead, throw it out there.
All right, I don't want to be first because I feel like my wife was.
You're like third, so no.
All right, just again, awesome job, Jackie and the team. You were great. I love the young leaders at the end. I
Yeah.
incorporate that into some of these other conferences that we host. That was excellent. Some of the things I'm not a big fan of because I think it wastes way too much time and takes away from the Q&A and the meat. Part of the reason we're there, we spend way too much time on individual cities and elected official intros. I mean, Ray Jackson, show the member cities, thank everybody who's there, but to go, thank you, Mayor Manhattan Beach, thank you, Rolling Hills. I mean, and then somebody walks in late, oh, I'm from the school board of Torrance or Hermosa Beach, and we just want to, I mean, it's so much time, at the end of the day, feelings may get upset, but I mean, we're there to learn, to connect and collaborate. So I think a slide with all the member cities, you know, if there's a senator or somebody, maybe a shout out to them, but, and then a slide for the sponsors, because sponsors always love that. But the never ending intros just was such a time suck. Unbelievable. COG team, I'd rather see a slide with the COG team. You know, I thought that was good. I think the videos during lunch on a loop, because that took up a lot of time. Everyone who wasn't there showed a video. I was like, oh dear God. I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong, there are words, but I mean, just do it during lunch. I'm on this plastic kick now, and it just bothers the heck out of me. And I think, you know, we've got like compostable cups here, but we also have plastic cups. And that conference we had, you know, we had plastic name tags, right? You know, I think the goal should be little to no waste. And whatever waste we produce should be compostable as opposed to something that will never be recycled and is,
Remember that.
right? So, you know, they have,
We reuse the plastic.
who does?
We do
It ain't
every
bad.
year.
They turn them in.
Yeah, we just do, yeah, we do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he took his home.
I didn't know. I think what we should do is just bring your name, if you want someone to know who you are, bring your name tag from your city.
Everyone has.
But we do reuse them.
Because everyone who goes to a conference, every time you go to a conference
Yeah.
or a meeting, monthly meetings, everyone gives you these bloody name tag things, right? And it's just a lot. So anyway, and then I just couldn't help but look at all the plastic cups and the plastic lids on the coffee cups and the plastic ware as opposed to, because, you know, back to green waste, you know, they can,
Right.
the wooden forks are compostable. Those plastic ones that say they're compostable are not really compostable. So anyway, to the extent we can reduce our waste.
Remember we had problems with coffee, because we used to have coffee cups, but then people were bumping into each other and then we had people.
Well, I was in Colorado, they had compostable lids.
Oh.
But we don't control the caterer. It's not the caterer.
But that could be a requirement.
And ask.
Just ask.
Ask.
We could
It's
ask.
kind of a reflection on us.
Ah,
It is the company.
You have to use their caterer.
Yeah, but we could still ask.
Yeah, where's Cedric when we need to harass?
He knew it was coming.
I remember we tried to get all glass before.
Contract.
We're using it for a while and then we had complaints,
I
but
mean, but those cups we have there are compostable, right?
Yeah.
Sitting
Yeah.
right next to the plastic ones.
yeah,
But it doesn't control that.
Yeah.
Right,
but we could ask.
right. Make it a requirement. Hey, look.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. that's
They're
fine.
responsive. I use them for catering.
Any comments from General Assembly? Anybody else?
From the new guy, I thought it was fantastic, bringing everybody together, understanding what was going on, all the positivity. I liked the speakers, thought they were very interesting. I could have done without Adam Schiff, you know, his video.
Yeah.
And the gal who came from Gavin Newsom's office didn't seem like she really connected with the
Oh,
Chicago.
yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was fabulous.
That's a good one. I've forgotten that.
Yeah, she even kind of whispered to me when she was up. Yeah, she kind of apologized.
Get somebody from HCD next time.
Yeah.
Promise to leave your pitchforks at home.
You know, they should be able to defend, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. They should be able to defend this antiquated system, right?
Okay.
But to your point though, everybody praised those kids at the end.
Oh,
Yes, yeah, that was, yeah.
That was a rock at the
we want to bring the kids to ICA. Coronado, you want to come?
Yeah, man.
Jake will go anywhere.
Where do I say?
Coronado, want to come?
Go ahead.
So we do this little recap presentation after every GA. We're gonna start off with some of the fun stuff, the photos.
My blue showed up over there.
Nice to have Don Kanabi there.
Yeah, that was fun.
Where's your helmet?
Zane, did we ever send Zane that picture?
Yeah, Zane.
Where's your helmet, Zane? Oh, you took off.
It's under his hat.
He was coming, he didn't want to. Oh, no, look at the, uh-oh, my goodness. That was lady answer my questions from the state.
No, that was the state lady?
That was the
Oh,
lady
good God.
from the
This year, we're right in line with our normal kind of average attendees.
What we said about lunch is 100 more people registered than came.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we don't order lunch for Yeah, every.
Now we're just gonna always order a low amount, so make sure you get there early and get your food first.
Well, what's interesting is that this year we had a much lower walk-in rate than we have in the past. I think 2023 was like 13% or something, so I don't know if it was because we had first planned on charging for lunch or what the issue was exactly this year, but it was a lower walk-in rate than historically. By city or by type of attendee, I think this is pretty average. Majority were city staff, or the largest share were city staff. A good chunk were sponsors and exhibitors and general residents. Attendees by city, Torrance was largest. We were at Carson, so they always have a good number of folks there. I think, looks like, I think every one of our cities.
I think,
was
yeah.
represented.
Yeah, and larger cities are gonna have more people. I mean, yeah, they got more. Except for Franklin County.
I know, I thought there were.
Some of the attendee feedback, 41% were fives, 90% were four or higher. Some of the favorite aspects for the speakers, the networking. Dan Sturgis was surprisingly one of the larger, even more than the youth panel actually at the end. He was called out as a favorite speaker.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
Some of the strengths for the informative speakers. People are always looking for more networking opportunities. Several comments were looking at either breakout sessions or table discussions. And then one thing that we did also notice as staff is that the doors were very noisy this year. So having maybe staff stand near the doors to quiet the in and out. Some of the future topics were homelessness and affordable housing, the changing demographics, emergency preparedness, preparing for the Olympics, and then impacts from Washington.
Did you have more responses on some of those? Like, did you have more people say they wanted it on homelessness versus?
There's a handful on homelessness and affordable housing, a few on Olympics.
Okay.
The Olympics one was, I think, in line with kind of what the board was thinking earlier in the year.
Right.
FIFA World Cup and the Olympics and everything going on in the area. The original idea was a sports themed one for next year, so maybe that's what we could look into, but. And then just some testimonials. Overall, very, very well received, I think. Tried to grab.
Yeah, and I had an interesting testimonial here from the two speakers that did the simulator. They said, do you have that here?
Second one on this one.
Yeah, yeah, there it is. Yeah. They said that we were a great example of the way a COG should work. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's it. So any other comments or questions?
Bravo.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
You should be.
Good job.
Hey,
Okay,
Jackie.
next is REAP 2.0, and we'll bring back future GAs in a couple of months. REAP 2.0, I already mentioned the needs assessment report has come out and how interesting it is. But the advisory committee will be meeting sometime in May 22nd, I think, is the next meeting. And then updates on the other two projects, commercial redevelopment, the RFP is being circulated. And micro-mobility hubs is still, Jake, do you want to say anything about those two? Right, commercial development's being circulated, right?
Commercial redevelopment, the deadline for proposals is this Thursday. And then we'll be reviewing those. Mobility hubs, we are aiming to get the scope of workouts by either end of this week or early next week. As the COG, I am conducting a literature review and data review. Sources such as Locus and some SCAG tools. And then we'll put out the RFP and hopefully have a contract by July.
And the community survey?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, for mobility hubs, we have also been starting this weekend. There will, at all our outreach events, will be a community survey on origin destination data, where people are going when they're traveling those more regional trips outside of the South Bay, how they choose to get there, and then what are those important factors that they determine the mode of travel, whether it be cost, convenience, availability, time, all of those. And that's really going to help us look at what amenities and features these mobility hubs will be centered around. And so if you see us at our events, we'll have that survey. And if anyone also has any channels that we could send it out through, it's all online, just Survey Monkey, and we appreciate any help in distributing that to the residents.
That it?
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
David is just pointing out to me that apparently we forgot to add to the agenda the Caltrans grant interviews for.
Oh, your recommendation?
Yes, it's not on the agenda.
Wasn't added either.
Yeah, and it wasn't added, although we sent it out. We sent out a recommendation to let the contract to Tool Design for the Caltrans to the C grant. That's for the local travel network to connect Caltrans to from Carson all the way to San Pedro. And what happened is we sent you out sent it out, and I guess, is it in the packet?
It was a
Handed out.
It was a separate memo.
So what happened was I think we got 4 different firms that came in with proposals. We had a city recommendation, we had a city panel, and the county was on the panel. It was really,
I don't know if you.
we all read the proposals, and it was really interesting. This hasn't really ever happened before, or not very frequently, where everybody scored the first firm as one. It was unanimous, which was the best firm. And second, third, and fourth was pretty much a long distance away. So we decided to only interview the one firm because it didn't seem fair to bring everybody else in. They were so far down, and see if the one firm met the expectations of their proposal. They did. And so we're recommending Tool Design and for you to recommend to the board. And I'm terribly sorry. I guess we need a motion to add it to the agenda.
Need to add that
Well, you can add it as an emergency.
So I'd like to move that we add this to the agenda.
as an emergency.
I second.
Yeah, as an emergency, we're gonna add the motion and.
Yeah, because we sent out the draft.
Any opposition?
You received the items separately.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie, make your motion.
Okay, so the motion is to let the contract to Tool Design.
I move that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
That was to add it to the agenda.
Any opposition? And any abstention?
Thanks very much.
I love government.
Okay, so then the next thing is senior services. Is there any update? Ronson isn't here. Do you have anything?
Services.
They just looked at each other, so I guess not. They just said that.
Kathy's on, but I don't know if there are any updates.
159.
And an update.
Talk us slow.
We got
Our meeting this month, I guess.
159.
Okay, thank you.
5 minutes.
Back
What?
other than it's the last Tuesday.
Yeah, okay, the meeting this month is on the, I don't know if it's on the 29th or the.
Last Tuesday.
22nd. I don't know which date it is.
And Kathy Hetzer may have an update on the speakers. I know
29th.
she and Aaron were working on some possibilities. Is there a name up there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Kathy, are you there?
She's
Oh,
there.
the speakers.
You're on mute, Kathy, if you want to.
Okay.
Maybe she stepped away for a minute.
If you don't want to speak, Kathy, just raise your hand. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then,
Probably just had a
I would
second.
just add that,
Oh, here she is.
I'm here. I'm sorry, I did walk away for a minute.
Okay. Do you have anything on seniors or not?
the speakers so far for this month.
For this month, not yet. We're still working on putting together for emergency preparedness and trying to work on trying to put together some kind of a program. Hopefully that we can get all the seniors on board with. I heard that Janice Hahn's office was putting a proposal out to locate all the seniors somewhere so that in the future they would be better prepared to find them in an emergency. I don't know how that's going to go, but that looks like something that I also wanted to do for the COG area. Yeah, so we're just gonna work with the, getting everybody ready for emergencies this year. And looking for certain speakers that can present and help us with that mission.
Great. Well, and I'd also mention Janet, staff person for Congressman Ted Lieu indicated that he or she would provide a federal update on the tariffs and what's happening and how's that.
Okay.
Thank you. Jake, do you have anything on local travel networking and bike safety?
We're still trying to figure out, we're still waiting on the SS4A grant. The representative from Schiff's office yesterday offered that she could look into it in Washington for us or any grants, so we reached out to her. Kind of ironic because then the next round of funding for the same grant just came out. So we're not really sure how that works, and the eligibility criteria has shifted drastically. So it's no longer, it should not focus on anything with bicycles, mode shift, and Justice 40 is completely out in terms of qualifying areas. So we're also taking a look at from our current one, that they're gonna probably be revising scope of works, even though all of the grants were part of the eligibility was that it had to be in equitable communities. And so I'm taking a look back at our scope of work, because if they come back with, they want to revise the scope of work, how we could potentially alter the project to still be eligible, but still be beneficial to the South Bay. So that's kind of where we're at, just on a standby for SS4A. And I think that's really the only significant update.
Thank you.
And then on strategic positioning, we were asked to let you all know about the April 24th Hawthorne Business Expo. I think there's a flyer in there. And then I will be out of town from May 2nd to May 19th, but Kim will be available. And I always read my emails when I'm out of
Is
town.
that approved?
Yeah, I think I approved it. So you can still contact me and whatever. We're gonna have party and yes. Okay.
Yes, they are. All these things are really.
So that's all I have.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, quickly, anybody have anything from the floor? Announcements?
Is anybody going to the Sacramento with the league next week?
I am not.
And before that, so Monday and Tuesday, South Bay Association of Chambers will be there, so I will be there representing the
Nice.
at that, so I'll be in Sacramento all week.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Environmental Service to be at the Saturday Earth Day in Hawthorne. So we did Saturday, so it was fantastic.
And thank you for coming to the booth and helping them.
No problem.
Heard that he helped the staff carry stuff over to the
Made it work, huh?
table. And made sure that they had everything they needed.
More than just a pretty face.
We put them to work. Put them to work.
I was.
Yeah, we did, on one day, we did, 4 events last Saturday. Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to introduce myself.
Hey, stand up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Irma Galicia. I'm one of the assistant directors for Supervisor Mitchell. I will now be part of this COG moving forward in lieu of Jesselyn. Jesselyn is still our beach city girl, so she's not going anywhere. I would just be coming more through the unincorporated area lens of the Super Divorce District of District 2. And I look forward to meeting all of you and collaborating and see how we could assist.
Hey,
Say hi to Jesselyn.
hey. Hey.
So you heard our concerns.
Yeah.
I'm just, I haven't done my Form 700, so.
Oh.
Next.
You can borrow mine.
Okay, so all I want to say is have a great Easter and enjoy vacation, Easter break. Wherever you go. Okay, now adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.